Good day, and thanks for stopping by GardenStateWeather.com, the Northern Mid-Atlantic region's weather portal, featuring in-depth forecast analysis video discussion for Monday, July 9th, 2012, and I'm forecaster Robert Smith. Well, it has actually been more than a month and a week or so since I've done a video forecast discussion, and it's nice to be back. This morning, after a long holiday weekend, broken by severe thunderstorms in parts of Ocean and Monmouth County and parts of northeastern Pennsylvania and central New Jersey on Saturday night. The heat was still around on Sunday, but with much drier conditions across northern areas as a cold front slipped to the south into the Delmarva region from southern New Jersey down through the Delmarva and the Virginias and back into Western Virginia. And that's also the case this morning on this Monday. A high to mid broken level cloudiness, but much drier conditions across northern New Jersey through central New Jersey. The clouds really begin to thicken up and the temperatures warm nicely from 75 in the city down to about 78 degrees in Philadelphia. And we find that this is where the frontal boundary is this morning. Instead of seeing all the reports that we saw on Saturday across Pennsylvania down through central and southern New Jersey, where we had 75-mile-an-hour wind gusts, down trees and power lines, lightning strikes, even one fatality on Monmouth Beach. Unfortunately, a 48-year-old woman was killed when she was behind her friends nearing the seawall in Monmouth Beach. She was about 20 feet behind them, and they were leaving due to the oncoming storm that was approaching rapidly from the northwest, and unfortunately lightning struck her. They did CPR. She went to the hospital and she was declared deceased, unfortunately, early Monday morning. We're so sorry to hear this. And lightning, of course, is one of nature's #1 destructive killers. And unfortunately, lightning has been a big potential problem in many of these thunderstorm complexes, including the one about a week ago that moved derecho, that moved through central and southern New Jersey and knocked out power into the Delmarva region for many days as temperatures began to soar into the 90s. And we'll talk about lightning safety in another special edition of this broadcast. Getting back to this Monday morning, temperatures already in the mid-70s in New York City down to Philadelphia. It's a much drier and cooler air mass as you head north and west over the hills of northwest Jersey out into Pennsylvania. This morning, temperatures in the upper 60s. And all these temperatures are probably going to rise back into the 80s this afternoon with a northeast wind, which is now flowing in from off the waters. And that's going to keep many of the areas much more comfortable with lower dew points during this afternoon. Unfortunately, this frontal boundary to the south has and ignited a couple of disturbances along the boundary. One area of showers and thunderstorms is now moving off the coast with moderate to heavy rain well off the Atlantic City area, and other lighter areas of rain across portions of Maryland and Dover. And this is going to keep the threat of clouds and showers across the region from, I would say, southern New Jersey, southwestern Jersey, all the way down through the Delmarva region and back through portions of Maryland during a good portion of the next couple of days. Now, it's not going to be raining all the time, but some of these disturbances are going to be capable of producing very heavy rain, strong winds. As we see yesterday, these wind windstorm reports and hail reports coming in across a large portion of Virginia, Maryland, and down through Virginia proper and northwestern Virginia and Maryland too. And this morning we see a few lightning strikes here well off the northern Mid-Atlantic coast away from the water as this disturbance moves across and out into the ocean. Another vantage point here showing that big area of rain now exiting the Atlantic. This is down here is where the heavier rain and lightning strikes are. And here's some rain still back in through this area, western Virginia, northern Virginia, and exiting east into the Delmarva region. So a lot more cloudiness and rain could be expected in this area during this afternoon. This morning's visible picture showing that quite nicely. We have some high and mid-level cloudiness across eastern Pennsylvania and northwestern New Jersey. There's breaks in some of this, so it's filtered sunshine. And as an upper trough develops and moves overhead across the region today, we're expecting a lot of this area from central Jersey into New York City and Connecticut to begin to break up a little bit, and more sunshine should be filtering in. It's going to be a nice dry day here from northern New Jersey, northeastern Pennsylvania, all the way down through central New Jersey and parts of Ocean and Monmouth counties today. So the beaches will be nice and the sunshine will become predominant as we get into this afternoon. But several hours this morning into the early portion of the afternoon, the further south you go, down, let's say, Ocean down to Atlantic and Cape May counties, that's where the cloud cover is really going to become more thicker and dense, and showers and even perhaps thunderstorms will be on the rule for this area as disturbances move all across this frontal boundary. So our water vapor imagery loop overlaid with the frontal boundary here. We can see the one disturbance offshore. Here comes a weaker disturbance across this area. And we can see the clearing skies that are trying with the deep blacks here. That's descending air, but still some high and mid-level cloudiness associated here along this frontal boundary. Some of this will begin to thin out. It's already showing signs of that across the New Jersey-New York border there in Pennsylvania. And we're expecting more drying conditions and less cloud cover in this region during this afternoon. What's interesting is the isotherms here. These are the sea surface temperature isotherms that I'm looking at. And notice this very strong curve of water temperatures at 25 degrees, 22 degrees Celsius, all the way up through and offshore Monmouth, Ocean, Atlantic counties, all across the coastal waters of New Jersey into south of Long Island. This is a very, very warm water, and if you've been to the shore this past weekend or even perhaps this week and last week, very little upwelling is occurring here, so water temperatures are basically between 75 to 80 degrees at any of these local beaches. And of course, the last thing I want to show you on this imagery here is the dew point temperatures. They're much drier. They're in the mid and upper 50s this morning across a large chunk of the northern mid-Atlantic. But where the precipitation is and the cloud cover, that's where dew points are back into the upper 60s and low 70s. But the air is much noticeably drier across most of the forecast region. And using one of the newer high-resolution models. This is the RUC model, which is now the high-resolution model. 1 kilometer reflectivity forecast going forward. You can see that most of the rain now exiting southern New Jersey and the Delmarva region with the thunderstorms offshore. And as the afternoon progresses, most of this area should become rain-free. And we saw this on radar and satellite imagery this morning. There really doesn't seem to be any particular upper-level disturbances throughout this evening into the overnight areas. But this frontal boundary will remain an active focus for weather over the next couple of days. But it looks like the atmosphere will begin to dry out over these regions. And the NAMWRF composite industry reflectivity forecast, you can see the high and middle level clouds beginning to break up this afternoon. As we get into the afternoon hours, even shore points in Ocean and Monmouth County should see some cloud cover, some scattered cloud cover of the mid to upper level variety, but generally dry conditions even down through southern New Jersey and portions of Delaware. The latest information coming in from the NAMWRF this morning is showing scattered clouds and temperatures rebounding nicely under a northeast flow, but no real organization to any shower or thunderstorm activity that will remain further south and further off the mid-Atlantic coast. And by Tuesday, we find more broken and mid-level cloudiness across the area. Perhaps by the afternoon hours, a brief shower will cross the area from the Poconos into northwestern New Jersey. It will be very brief and localized area of rain showers. Otherwise, generally fair to partly cloudy weather with a lot of sunshine and northeast wind and temperatures near seasonable levels in the lower 80s. And by the time we get to Wednesday, again, high and filtered mid-level clouds and a little bit more humid in the afternoon, but still a northeast wind flow and at the surface, and a deep upper level trough in the atmosphere, and that will ignite some temperature differences, lapse rates aloft, and some of the air could become a little bit more unstable with a spotty shower here or there, but for the most part, most regions will remain dry. And the European model guidance from the Penn State eWall site this morning from last night's run shows that the heat and humidity will build back into the region later this week into the weekend and probably into early next week. Meanwhile, we have an upper level trough now situated across the northeastern United States, and that area has pushed high pressure back into the plains and into the southwest, and another lobe of high pressure still squashed down across and off the southern mid-Atlantic coast and into the Bermuda High position. As we get through the forecast period, we can see the area of disturbed weather, that is our frontal boundary, beginning to wash out, and here comes the ridge of high pressure. As we get into Wednesday afternoon, we can see a rebuilding of the ridge now across and off the Atlantic, conjoining with the ridge across the central and southwestern United States. And that means if we look at the 850 millibar winds, our winds begin to turn around more to the southwest in the mid and upper levels of the atmosphere. So this is going to pump a lot more moisture and humidity back into the forecast region as we approach Thursday and Friday. By the weekend, we have our southwest flow at all levels of the atmosphere. High pressure certainly in control. Hot and humid conditions, temperatures approaching the upper 80s and mid 90s once again, with dew points rising exponentially back into the upper 60s and mid 70s, making for very uncomfortable, sticky conditions approaching this weekend. And as we go further, high pressure still in control off the Bermuda and South Atlantic coast with an upper level southwesterly wind, high pressure building in aloft and at the surface in all areas here. And that's going to mean for warm, humid conditions from later this weekend into next week. Well, that's going to do it for today's broadcast. Don't forget to check out GardenStateWeather.com for all the latest weather information 24 hours a day, live storm coverage on our live storm coverage page, and also we have a new feature of feedback, our member subscription feedback survey, which the link is available on our webpage, and also if you're already a member, you'll receive that link in your latest forecast email discussion. For GardenStateWeather.com, I'm forecaster Robert Smith. If you're on vacation this week, make it a good one. And do remember to be careful out there about approaching storms at any time, especially during the late afternoon and evening hours, and also monitoring rip currents at the beaches. Always swim with other people and never alone. And remember to have fun. GardenStateWeather.com. Have a great day.